All right, well, thank you guys for being here. This is an interesting topic. When I submitted this topic, I was really surprised that the members actually wanted to hear it. It doesn't sound like the funnest thing to talk about, but it's something that I feel like is important that we probably don't talk about it enough. I just have to tell you this quick story. When I went and I found out that I was going to be teaching on this topic, I went and I told my wife, I'm like, hey, honey, we're doing this cool thing where we get to submit user topics for the symposium. And one of the topics that was chosen is work-life balance. And she just looked at me, she says, that's great, as long as you're not teaching it. And I'm like, well, honey, part of the deal is that you also volunteered to teach it. And then she just laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. I mean, clearly I'm not doing as well in this area as I thought I was doing. And that's why we're doing it. I just want to start off by saying this. I'm not up here saying I'm an expert at work-life balance. In fact, I may be the worst offender. And it's something that I need to work on, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. To be completely honest with you, work-life balance has been the single greatest challenge of my professional career. And that's saying a lot. So I appreciate your willingness to be here, and hopefully we can work together and come up with some solutions. I'm going to just quickly go through my backstory, because it's so not interesting. I got into photography in high school. I had to take an art class, right? Pottery or photography, which would you take? So I became a photographer. I love photography. And I did it all through high school and graduated and started in community college. And then I'm going to shock you just right off the beginning. I live in Utah. I work at BYU. I'm a Mormon. I mean, you should have accepted that, right? And when we turned 19, now it's 18 actually, it's changed, we have the opportunity to go serve a mission. And what that is you basically say, okay, where would you need me? And for 2 years you go and that's all you do, is you help out people in that area. I was sent to Los Angeles, California. This is one of my companions. I was asked to learn Spanish, so si se necesita ayuda, me hablan. And we served in schools doing translation for bilingual classes. We helped people with addiction recovery programs. We taught people about our church. We did so many fun things and served people for 2 years, and I loved it. It was the defining moment of experience of my life. And I came back from that mission with such a belief that I can do pretty much anything I want to do. I had a lot of confidence that if you put a lot of work into something, you can do it. So I wanted to be a photographer. I was working construction during the day with my dad, and at night I went to night school at Salt Lake Community College. And one day I was looking at the student paper, it had 0 pictures in it. It was awful. So I walked into the office, and I'm like, guys, why don't you have any photos? And they're like, oh, we don't have a photographer this semester. I'm like, where are the keys? They gave me the keys, and that was my first job interview. I became the photographer of the paper, and they never asked me for anything. They said, Jaren, all we need is a picture for A1. We don't care what it is. So I just went and I shot campus. I shot sports. I shot news. I shot features. I was a university photographer, and I didn't even know it. And I was paid about the same, too, which is... but I loved it. And when I transferred down to BYU, I started doing the same thing at the student paper there, and Mark saw pictures in the paper and needed a photographer, hired me, and that's where I started at BYU. And I fell in love with photography. I really loved, and I love what we do as university photographers. We have so much variety and so many things. At BYU, I met and married my wife, Kara. And it was great because she was in school while I was working full time. So if I had a really long day, she would just do homework, and then at the weekend we'd get together and have fun and do it all over again. And it was a great time of our life. Until that came along. This is Isaac. We did just feed him whipped cream, pretty much. And the funny thing is, some of you saw him in the hotel this morning. He's about 5 feet taller and weighs the same as he did here. And Isaac changed everything. It was funny because it took me longer to realize that than my wife. 2 weeks or so after he was born, I'm like, okay, honey, I got to work. I got all these things that I got to do, and I'll see you tomorrow. And she's like, This is when Mama Bear came out for the first time. No. You have to make a decision if you're going to be part of this family. And you have to change how you do things, because we need you here too. And I was like, whoa, what? I have to change? And that was like the first wake-up call. Life goes on. We have 4 kids now. This is one of our Christmas cards from a year ago. And then, of course, last year's, which was very popular. We have a lot of fun together, and I love my family, and it's the most important thing in my life. And, you know, they're great. They're a lot of fun. They're a pain in the butt sometimes, but that's fun too. But I have to work. I have to make a living. I think sometimes we demonize work. They give us money for it. That's a good thing. but I have to work in a way that I can still be a father and I can still be a husband. So for me, I always feel like I'm trying to balance these three things: my work life, my family life, and my personal life. And it's a struggle because it feels like I'm always shortchanging all three of them. So we're going to talk about these three areas really quickly, and then we're going to talk about some solutions for these areas. So I came across this TED Talk. Nigel, I think it's Marsh, I have to go look at it, did this TED Talk about work-life balance. Let's listen to this intro.
Is if society is to make any progress on this issue, we need an honest debate. But the trouble is, so many people talk so much rubbish about work-life balance. All the discussions about flexi time, or dress down Fridays, or paternity leave, only serve to mask the core issue, which is that certain job and career choices are fundamentally incompatible with being meaningfully engaged on a day-to-day basis with a young family.
Does that sound familiar? Yeah. It's like a stake through the heart when I heard that. It's absolutely true. I love what I do, but I love my family. What do I do? I think that we incorrectly look at work-life balance like this. It's never going to be balanced, ever. There is no way you can spend equal amounts of time at work and meaningfully engage with your family at home, because you have to sleep. It's usually more like this. And as sad as it is, this is how it's always going to be. But I maybe even balance is the wrong way we look at it. I think of it more like this. We have a lot of things we care about, and we just do enough to keep them from crashing down on us, right? Spinning plates, that feels like what it is. We need to be better than this. We need to do better. So let's talk about the first one, which is work. Work's the problem, isn't it? Work is the problem. And Nigel shared something about this I want to share.
Now, the first step in solving any problem is acknowledging the reality of the situation you're in. And the reality of the society that we're in is there are thousands and thousands of people out there leading lives of quiet, screaming desperation, where they work long, hard hours at jobs they hate to enable them to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. And it's my contention that going to work on a Friday in jeans and t-shirt isn't really getting to the nub of the issue. The second observation I'd like to make is we need to face the truth that governments and corporations aren't going to solve this issue for us. We should stop looking outside. It's up to us as individuals to take control and responsibility for the type of lives that we want to lead. If you don't design your life, someone else will design it for you, and you may just not like their idea of balance. It's particularly important, this isn't on the World Wide Web, is it? I'm about to get fired. It's particularly important that you never put the quality of your life in the hands of a commercial corporation. Now, I'm not talking here just about the bad companies, the abattoirs of the human soul, as I call them. I'm talking about all companies, because commercial companies are inherently designed to get as much out of you as they can get away with. It's in their nature, it's in their DNA, it's what they do. Even the good, well-intentioned companies. On the one hand, putting childcare facilities in the workplace is wonderful and enlightened. On the other hand, it's a nightmare that just means you spend more time at the bloody office. We have to be responsible for setting and enforcing the boundaries that we want in our life.
I think that's key. Sometimes we expect somebody to do it for us. It ain't going to happen. We have to take control of our life. We have to be the masters of our domain. And that's hard. That's work. And that's what we need to talk about, some solutions. Because we all know what the challenges are, right? Too much work, exhaustion, burnout, coworker problems, boss problems, power problems, not enough control, not enough budget, not shooting what you want to shoot. These are all serious issues. Now, why are we talking about these? I thought we were talking about work-life balance, right? It's my contention that if we are fulfilled and happy at work, we're going to be better at home. We're going to be happy and fulfilled at home. We won't bring that baggage home with us. We won't taint our relationship with our family with what's happening at work. Work is such a big part of your life. You should find joy in what you do. You absolutely should. But you have to work at it. It takes effort. Just really quickly, what causes burnout? This is, I think, the number one issue we all face, right? What causes burnout? Raise your hand, share.
Too much work.
Too much work.
Too much.
Simply, right? What else? Don't be shy.
Not being appreciated.
Oh, yeah. I'll give you a hug later. What else?
The monotony of some type of shoots, the same grip and grins. Over
Boredom,
and over
right?
again.
Yeah, we want to shoot cool things, right? Not that. What else? I see how you guys are thinking about what you're going on at work right now, and you're like, ugh. Okay, let's move on. So, first of all, too much work, the biggest issue, of course. I'm really big on prioritizing your time. I love this scripture. It's not requisite that a man should run faster than he has strength. And we do that all the time. We go beyond in what we should be doing, and it drains us, it exhausts us, it burns us out. If you can do what you're capable of and not overextend yourself, you're going to be less likely to burn out. It all comes down to time, though, right? That's the one thing that you and Justin Bieber have the equal amounts of. We have the same amount of time, and how we spend it is up to us. And once it's gone, it's gone. So I really like this matrix. I know, well, here he goes, right? This is helpful for me. This is a Stephen Covey that uses this. Also, it's called the Eisenhower matrix. Basically, look at your life and look at what you're doing at work and put them in these boxes. Urgent and important, urgent, not important and urgent, not urgent, not important. What would go here? I just took one day and I looked at this. So, for example, this is important to me. This is where I want my priority and the most time to go to, this photo shoot for a poster. And it's urgent and important. Or edits for Alumni Magazine? Yeah, it's important. What about this? Why is this important?
Because that person can then shoot some stuff that you don't want to shoot.
Then they can do these things, right? Yeah. Exactly. Good. What about that? Is that important? It is, but it's not urgent. People think it is, right? And then staff meetings. How do you feel about staff meetings? What about the prints for the economics display area, right? Okay, so here's how I would approach this day. I would spend most of my time doing this. I would do these edits in my staff meeting because I can't get out of it. I would teach my student how to do this, and when they're done with that, they would go do this for me and this. That's, for me, how I would prioritize my day. We don't do this enough. And here's the point. Everything is not equally important. Why the heck are we treating it like that? Why do we just look at a list of 50 things we have to do and we try to do all of them? Why? This is where you should be working, not here. I think it requires an exercise every morning to sit down and look at this and make a list of priorities. And then if this one doesn't get done, so what? It's okay. It can be done tomorrow. But that time today, it's going to be gone. So again, set those priorities and goals. I think it's good to have short and long-term goals. I think it's good to review them every morning to remind yourself. It's really easy to fall into it. So I sit down in the morning and say, today I have to accomplish this, this, and this. And everything else is less important. And then maybe the hardest thing is to learn how to say no. How do you say no? What's a tip you have for somebody to learn how to say no?
We offer an alternative.
I love that. So
if I tell somebody, no, we don't do that, and I don't offer an alternative, they just get pissed off and it comes back to me through the chain of command, and everybo's mad at me, and I have to do it anyway.
So what are the alternatives?
The alternative is I'll get you a freelancer, you get to pay for it, or we'll send out that print job,
Yeah.
you'll have to pay for it. It all comes back to somebody, everybody thinks that our time is free.
Yeah.
Right? We don't charge for our work on campus. So my time, so it's free to have these, well, it's not free, right? The university is paying for it. And so offering people, we'll be happy to get that done for you.
Yes.
But I'm not going to do it.
And I think it was at Symposium a year or two ago, said, find a way to say yes.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the yes that they are going for. And that leaves a positive relationship. I love it. Perfect. But that's important. If you don't say no, you're going to be taken advantage of and you're going to be doing those not important, useless things, okay? Efficiency, I'm a big efficiency guy. Nate probably gets driven crazy when I talk about efficiency, but I really think, again, time is finite. It's gone. So I walked into the office one day and I had this student that she was editing at 1,000%, pixel by pixel. Oh, I got to make this pixel red and this one blue. And I'm like, honey, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm just doing this edit for the biology webpage. Okay, how many pixels wide is that edit going to be? 615 pixels. Okay. How long have you been working on it? 40 minutes. And yeah, You can imagine the conversation we had. You need to put proportional effort into proportional results. That portrait would be down here in this corner, right? It would not be the highest priority of the day. I said, you have 2 minutes. And then tomorrow you'll probably only have 1 minute to do this type of edit. You have to be faster. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. It has to be done. So that we can focus our energy on this poster shoot that we're supposed to go do in an hour. I think that's a very important skill for photographers to learn because we're perfectionists and we're control freaks. We need to get some help. Focus your energy on what's important. I also think this is important. I think people over-edit, overdo. A friend did a commercial job. They chose 3 pictures. He edited 150 and sent it to him. 150 TIFFs. Hours of work. They used 3. Sometimes we're like that too. And we do it because we want to control. We want to make sure it's perfect and they don't crop it the way we don't like it. Let it go, man. It's okay. It's going to be gone in a second anyway. Now, if it's the billboard for the university, yeah, I'm going to put more effort into that. But for that little web picture, don't worry about it. Move on to the things that really matter. Something that our department we also do, we've switched to afternoon meetings. Mornings are much more productive. So in the morning we do our work, and then when we're tired, we go to the meeting, right? That's actually turned out to be a really positive thing. We 3 o'clock meeting. Now, yeah, we fall asleep, but that's probably more effective than what I was going to do in the meeting anyway. I also do take work to the meeting, and it drives some people crazy, but I'm always doing researching on shoots or trying to fulfill email because, honestly, I don't need my full attention in the meeting. Also, look at your data management workflow. You can be more efficient and save time. If you can save time, then you have more time for the things that matter. Photographers are a bunch of squirrels. We are easily distracted by shiny things. And I think that I have a big problem, especially being distracted by email and social media. One of my friends taught me what he does is with his email, he makes it so it doesn't automatically come in. It only comes in at noon. So all morning, he won't see his email. And then at noon, he'll sit down for half an hour, answer the email, and then go back and turn it off and do his work. Email just changes, it distracts you, and it throws you off track. I feel the same way about social media. I have to check social media to see what happened, and then sooner or later, Facebook take an hour away of your life, right? So I had to set boundaries about when I do that. I don't do social media till lunch. When I'm eating my lunch, my sandwich in front of my computer, that's when I check on those things because that's more my time, right? And I've already accomplished a lot from the morning. I also do goals and rewards. If I do this, I get this edit done, then I can go for a walk or get an ice cream bar, something. I also like this tagline in our office, Eat the Frog. Anybody heard of the Malcolm Gladwell book, Eat the Frog? Eat That Frog? It's a great book. Let me just simplify it for you. Imagine you get invited to the opening of a French restaurant. And in this restaurant, they're like, the meal will be free today, but you have to eat the entire meal. And they'll lay out a nice filet mignon in front of you and a nice chocolate cake in front of you and then a boiled frog. Which do you eat first? Why? Yeah, okay. Yeah, life is short. You never know. You might choke on it and, might as well enjoy it. The theory behind it is if you eat the frog first, then you don't have to worry about it. Then you can enjoy the rest of the meal. But a lot of people say they're going to eat the frog first, but they don't. They procrastinate. And they eat the chocolate cake and they keep on peeking in the corner of the eye at that frog. And they ate the filet mignon and they still see that frog and they're miserable because they know they've got to eat it. Do the worst thing first. I think I really like that. In our office, I teach our students and our staff, come in the morning and whatever's the thing that you were dreading on the drive-in, do it first. And the reason why is once you get that done, how do you feel? It's like, whoa, I'm free of that thing, right? And the rest of your day is going to get way better. If you procrastinate and push it off and do the easy things first, your whole day will be miserable. Try it out. It works. Next, get some help. We use a lot of students. I have 10 students right now. And they are incredible. We train them. We give them the tools they need. They do all of our portraits except for president and vice president level. They do a lot of the rubber chicken dinners the president's not at. They do those quickie assignments that aren't important. They do so much of and they allow me to go out and do what I want to do, what I feel like is important. Get some help. They're awesome. Same with coworkers. Let your coworkers help you. One thing is helping them understand your life and getting a flexible schedule. If you can how many of you have flexible schedules? That's pretty good. That's good. Now here's the problem. How many of you use it? Oh, good. I don't. I need to be better. This is one area I gotta improve. Lastly, freelancers. Ever since I took over from Mark, we've used more freelancers in the last year than in the last 20 years. And I just realized, you know what? This isn't important. I want to say yes, so I give them a freelancer. And I have this group of students that used to work for me, have graduated, have gone on to careers, and they love freelancing, and they know what I need. They're good. I can trust them. And I'm giving them something that I could care less about. And that has been such a positive thing for us.
I had this conversation a year ago with our director about trying to figure out what it was I should be doing, and we settled on freelancers.
Yes.
And what he told me was, I'm going to have to get used to other people doing stuff not to the same standard that I would do it,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah. That's great. He saw that.
Yeah.
But it has to be okay because you're not Superman. Well, you're close. But you only have so much that you can do. And the university's priorities should take priority.
But because we're perfectionists and control freaks, we don't want to have somebody else do it. It's really hard to let somebody else do it, even though, as you pointed out, it's not important.
Yeah.
So why should we be doing something that's not important?
Absolutely. Completely agree with that.
Can you just tell me what you mean by flexible scheduling?
Meaning that, like, if you work extra hours on the weekend, you can take off some time on Monday because you work too much. It has to be something your boss is okay with. You're not a 9-to-5er. A lot of people don't have that freedom. Their boss is like, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you worked all night. You still have to be here in the morning. If you have a good relationship with them, you need to make sure that happens. Next is exactly what we were talking about. Boss and coworker problems. This is huge. I think that more gripes than anything come about bosses. I feel like bosses should feel their ears burning all across the country when we have our symposium, right? But I think one thing that's really important is you need to work on a relationship. And this is not only bosses, this is coworkers. We forget sometimes that bosses are our people. And you have to work with people. If you want to have a good relationship, it takes effort, it takes work. When I have a new graphic designer that I find out that's been hired and I'm going to be working a lot with, I go to lunch with them. I talk to them. I find out what they're interested in. I develop a relationship so that when we get to the photo shoot, it's not toe-to-toe fighting. It's a collaboration. And I feel like that it takes effort to build a relationship with your boss, but you can do it. They're people, and they want to be heard, but it takes a lot of work. Another thing that we do, and we talked about a lot this last hour, track stats. Data is your friend. I shot 408,000 pictures last year. That's a lot. And I know I shot that many because we track every single frame that we shoot. We track every hour. We track the department we're shooting it for in a very simple spreadsheet. That's a macro. And if you'd like me to show it to you tonight, I can show it to you and help you set up. It's awesome. That data is so valuable with the administration because administrators don't speak English. They speak stats. They speak numbers. They speak pie charts. And for me to go to my boss, I showed her, Carrie, I shot 408,000 pictures last year. It's out of control. I need help. And she let me hire more students. If I just went to her and said, I'm tired, I'm working too much, she'd be like, okay. The data matters. Track your data, use it to your advantage. Finally, don't be a jerk. When's the last time that being a jerk helped your career? I feel like sometimes we just feel like because we're photographers, we can be idiots. And it never, ever helps you in the long run. Because a university is a small family, and you're going to run around that ugly second cousin is going to come back in your life and have to deal with them again, right? I teach my students, be the professional. No matter what's going on, if somebody's yelling at you, you never lose your cool. Because once you lose your cool, the relationship's over, and it's almost irreparable. I'd much rather be yelled at and have recourse in the long run. Be the professional, and you're going to have better results. We are frustrated because we don't control a lot of things, but we should control what we can control. We worry too much about what we can't control. Don't worry about it. Worry about what you got. You have a lot of power you don't realize. I feel like being that person that comes up with solutions is really important too. Going to your boss and saying, I have a problem, is very different than going to your boss and saying, I have a problem, here's how I think we can solve the problem, right? Be that person. And then we may not have a lot of budget, but we got photos. So you need to use a lift for a shoot. Wouldn't it be nice to just say, hey, operator, who's your favorite football player? Give them a print. You send them an email. Sweeten the deal. And things happen. Same thing here. You take care of the people that take care of you. That should be one of the top rules in dealing with universities anywhere, really, right? If I take a picture of somebody, I'll send them a quick picture just for them. Even if they're just part of the shoot, I show them I appreciate them. And guess what? Down the road, they're going to help me the next time I need their help. Finally, shoot what you want. Guys, you have the power. You're the only one who knows what all those little buttons do on your camera, okay? You're the only one that speaks the language of light, can paint with pixels, and can create emotion with images. That's your job. Use that. Focus on that. I think that sometimes we just throw our hands up and say, you have the power. Ultimately, you're the image maker. So make great images, and that will free you. I also think you need to have an outlet. We have a BYU photo at Instagram account, and I love it because that's where I put photos that nobody else uses. They're like, oh, this is a great photo, and they're like, oh, that's nice, but we want this one on the Instagram. And it's a release for me. It's a way for me to share. And guess what? Other university clients look at that and they're like, oh, I want that picture. That's great. It gives me a way to kind of share my work. Again, shooting personal projects, I think that should be obvious. We shouldn't have to talk about it, right? Really quickly, become a client too. I've learned this last year also to start booking time on the calendar for me to do those priority shoots that nobody's assigning to me, but I want to do. That way, when I get a lower priority assignment calling and I have it, I'm like, sorry, I'm booked. I'm doing this important thing. It's a lot easier for me to, find a freelancer or do something else with them. If you don't book time to accomplish the important things, they will never get done. Finally, the last one of this, make a mountain out of molehills. I think this is a funny way to say it, but at a university, you never get that person coming to you with a silver platter and a beautiful opportunity. All you have to do is show up and push the button, Jaren, right? It doesn't happen. This is a few examples. Ballet shoot. One is Swan Lake. The other one is Alice in Wonderland. They both came to me on both of these shoots and said, hey, Jaren, we have these cool dresses. We need to shoot for a poster. Let's just do it on Seamless. We'll cut it out. It'll be easy. And I said, what now? I'm like, Swan Lake, why don't we go to a lake and put a dancer on it instead of Photoshop it? And they're like, that's hard. And I said, yep. And the same thing here. Let's take her to a garden. Let's shoot her in a real garden. Make it fun. Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown, one of the coolest people I've ever shot. We have a TV channel, BYU TV, really original name. And he was one of the actors, and so I had to do a shoot with him for some promo stuff. And I had this idea for this shot. He's a professor, and so he's in the schoolroom looking out the window because he's kind of a mysterious dude. They didn't want this shot. So I kind of built it into the shot list and just said, well, I'm going to do it for myself. Of course, what happened? They used it, right? Quick story about that. It was really cold as winter. Christopher Lloyd's 70-something, right? This is an unheated room in Utah in the winter. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, Mr. Lloyd. Would you mind taking off your overcoat so we can take this quick picture? And he's like, yes, it's cold. But for the art. Flings off his coat. He was such a cool guy. I loved it. Here's a coal plant. We were shooting a story on a professor with some doodad he created, right? And I saw this, and I'm like, whoa. What's that? Oh, that's not part of the story. And I'm like, let's go shoot it. And it's funny, this ended up being the brochure, right? It wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have forced it. And I told this story before. I went and shot this, didn't have the equipment, didn't have the time, had 15 minutes. It looked awful. I blocked out 2 hours, came back with 3 students, a bunch of lighting equipment, and we did it right. And of course, it ended up being their brochure cover, right? Here's the point. All of these images are award-winning images that would not have happened if it weren't for me making them happen. Nobody came to me and said, Jaren, want to have an amazing image? It was me saying, let's take this farther. Let's make this bigger. Let's have fun with this. This is the kind of stuff that I live for. This is what fulfills me. And I try to spend more and more time doing these type of things because I know in the long run, these are going to be what's more beneficial to the university. What it really comes down to is happiness is up to you. There's always options. There's always things you can do. I think you should find a phototherapist. I think that you have a lot of them here at Symposium. You hear it all the time. Oh, my boss is... It's good to vent, but guys, also listen to suggestions. Sometimes we just vent and we don't want to hear. We don't want to hear how they do it at their university. What a great opportunity to take advantage of the collective knowledge of this group of peers and get some suggestions, get some ideas of how you can make your situation better. And then again, you have the power. If your situation is awful, leave. Your happiness is not worth the paycheck. If you're miserable and you dread going to work every day, find a better job. They're out there. Even if it's not in photography, it's not worth it. That is ultimately the power that you have, isn't it? So let me come to this now. Family. Family's important. Family's the reason, right? It's not the problem, though. Family. My wife never comes to me and says, Jaren, you know what? You've been spending a lot of time with the kids. You really should probably go to work, right? It's never happened. I really love this interview with Mitt Romney, and it's not political. He went to Stanford Business School after the election, and he lost. And I love, just listen to what he said.
And the word having it all gets thrown around a lot, but you have sort of managed to have it all. You have a great career, you have a great family, you're committed to your community. I want to know how you've managed to strike that balance and have it all.
I don't know that I've spent a lot of time analyzing how you balance your life. At one point, I remember feeling that I wasn't doing as much as I should be doing in my home with my kids. Also feeling I wasn't doing as much as I should be doing at work. And also feeling I wasn't doing as much as I should at church in my assignment there. And then realizing that meant things were pretty well in balance. And there may be, it's humorous perhaps, but there's some truth to that, which is if you're spending all of your time in one aspect of your life and not devoting it to other things that are important to you, then obviously things are out of whack. A couple of things I backed into. You're in the joint program, business law program. I came from Brigham Young University to Harvard and was convinced I would flunk out. And because I looked around, I saw all these people who were obviously smarter than me. And how was I possibly going to make it in this environment except by just studying like crazy? And so I studied all the time. And if I was not studying, I felt like there's this black cloud hanging over me. I should be studying. I've got to be working because I'm going to flunk out. And it was omnipresent. And at some point, I finally said, you know what? I'm going to do something which goes back to biblical times. I'm going to take Sunday off. I'm going to decide I'm not going to study at all on Sunday. And I'm going to devote that day to my family, to worship, and just personal time. And it was amazing what happened when I made that decision, because then I'm not cloud there anymore. It's like, okay, I can't study today. I don't have to worry about it. And the same thing happened as I went into my career in the consulting industry. I said, you know what, I'm just not going to work when I come home at the end of the day. It may be a late night, and maybe I get home at 6 or 7 instead. But when I come home, I'm going to close my briefcase and not work. And I'm going to devote the time I have at home to my family. And it was wonderful. It was freeing, because I could really focus on the things that I cared most about in life, which were my wife and my kids. And now, of course, if there was a big presentation coming up, why I'd break that rule. But in terms of a regular pattern of life, those were a couple things I did. Sundays stayed for me a day of family. Coming home at the end of the day stayed a family time. I traveled a good deal. Of course, I was on the road. I worked like crazy late into the night. But a few of those decisions early on shaped how I spent my time and probably helped me balance my life towards those things that mattered most to me.
So how did you get away with that? I mean, there's a lot of people, I mean, all of us come from these careers or going into these careers where if you say, I'm going to go home at 6 o'clock, I'm sorry, that's not always met with a lot of positive receptivity.
Yeah, no, I may have misspoken there. Some nights I might have been able to get home at 7.
Or take Sunday off.
Exactly, yeah. But I found if you take a block of time off for yourself, you may well be more productive than if you don't. And that may not be true depending on the organization you go to. But I remember when I was talking to Bill Bain about joining Bain & Company, I said, look, I have to take all day Sunday off. So if there's like a company meeting, or if you want to come in for case team meetings on Sunday, I just won't be there. And if that's something that the firm can't accept, then I'm probably not the right guy for the firm. And I lived by that, again, unless there was some kind of an unusual experience, some terrible crisis happened, I was going to jump in with both feet like everybody else. But that was the everyday occurrence, and I think it made me more effective and more productive, and I had good consulting assignments and got promoted as time went on. So I don't think it hurts to have something more in your life than just work. I think having faith or a community that you care about, politics, and children, I think that makes you a more full human being, more able to understand how the world works and how most people think, and may actually make you more effective. And by the way, if it doesn't, and you don't get promoted in the way you wanted to, and you don't make as much money as you wanted to, so what? Life is not about getting promoted and money. If that's how you measure your life, I got some bad news. There's serendipity in the world. Bad things happen in business, in the economy. You can't be guaranteed you're going to get promoted and make a lot of money. But if you measure yourself by the things that count most to you, your relationship with your spouse, your friendships, your children, your family, those things you can succeed at, whether or not the world goes to hell in a handbasket. So, I think you lay out how you want to live your life, and and you do that, you can have success regardless of what happens in the world around you.
The best advice I've ever gotten in this aspect has been be where you are. And I think, again, this is another thing that we struggle with. When you go home, you should never have your laptop open. You should never be checking Twitter. You should never be fiddling with your camera. When you're home with your kids, when you're home with your spouse, be home. Leave it at work. And if you had a bad day, leave that there too. People always come to me and say, your kids must have amazing photos. And I'm like, no, they don't. When I'm home, I'm dad. My kids don't need a photographer, they need a dad. All my family pictures pretty much, unless there's the one yearly one, is done with an iPhone. And I'm okay with that because the kids do not need a fly on the wall documenting their lives. They need somebody that's involved with their lives. They need somebody that cares about them and is there to be a part of their lives and not just chimping. The reverse is true though. When I'm at work, be at work. Don't be on Facebook. Don't be, wishing you were home. Get the work done so you can get home. It's really simple, but it's really hard. One thing, my wife's been really good at helping me with this. One thing she came up with, of course, we need to go on dates with our kids. Because sometimes when you have 4 kids, you try to do everything together because it's cheaper, right? More efficient with your time. But we take turns and we take each one of our kids to do something they want to do, whether it's a movie or bowling or ice cream or whatever it is, and we do that. At the same respect, I take time also to go on a date with my wife. It's been rough lately and I need to be better. Also, doing what they want to do is key. My boys, I sometimes think I need to take them to this amazing amusement park and have this amazing day, and guess what? They love Nintendo Wii, Zelda. They just got Zelda, right? They want me to sit there and talk to them and watch them play Zelda, and they want to watch me play Zelda, and they like to laugh at me because I'm bad at Zelda. But that's what they want. They just want me to be engaged in their lives. They don't want me to be buying them crap. It's simple. You just have to put a lot more effort into it and be there 100%, not be distracted. When the kids go to bed, then I'll jump on and I'll check things and I'll take care of what I need to take care of. But when they're awake, I got to be with them. And again, kids know actions speak more than words. They see everything. I travel a lot, unfortunately. And counting this week, I've been on the road 7 of the last 8 weeks. This has been one of the worst 2-month periods of my life because I haven't been home. And it comes with the job. There's times that I'm on the road a lot. There's times I'm home a lot. I've learned that I still have to be a part of their lives even though I'm not there. So I call home each night and guess what? Half of them don't want to talk to me. Fine. So we've come up with some other solutions. I always bring home something, from the place. And I usually try to make it something that's germane to the place. That's something that's from there, right? And they love that. They love that I'm trying to share with them and teach them about places I'm going to. And this is something I started a couple years ago, and this is something that my kids love. I vlog my trips. So I'll just take little quick videos of me doing things and experiencing things and seeing things and sharing it with them. And they love it. They sit down at the night before bedtime with my wife and they watch the videos. And for those few minutes, I'm a part of their life, even though I'm not there. I'm going to show you a few. These are their choices, not mine. This is their favorite one of what I brought home once. I apologize to all Southerners.
So I came back from South Carolina with a can of boiled peanuts, which I've never tried, but I told the kids if they wanted their Cracker Jacks, they had to try a boiled peanut. So Isaac, you want to be first?
No, I'm first.
So you watch us both go.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Apparently you're supposed to open it.
You didn't know
Don't make a mess.
when you bought these, you didn't know how to eat them.
I didn't.
I didn't.
I had to Google it. Okay, try it.
You Southerners are weird.
Wait, Nick, did you already have it?
Oh.
Plastic door. Plastic door. Is that good?
No. Too bad
Nick?
we have to eat a full one. That was only half. I don't like these.
I also take funny pictures. This is from Austin, Texas. They love this picture. They think it's hilarious. They try to talk like it, and it's so funny. And then this is my vlog entry from Michigan, when we went and played Michigan State. You're going to love this. Well, the sun came up there, and this is kind of a field that's over here. Kind of pretty. But I wanted to show you guys something very special. It's election season, and look. So Fred McPhail is running for sheriff. I think that is not the best name when you're trying to convey confidence
in somebody's abilities when they're called McPhail?
He lost, by the way. It was kind of complicated, too. I saw that. I'm like, we won't get into that. This is their all-time favorite video. This isn't hard. I'm out jogging in the morning, and I take my phone, and I just take some pictures, and I take some videos, and they love it. And again, I'm engaged with them from afar. So what kind of things do you do to show your family that they're the priority? What do you do? Give us some suggestions. Oh, boy, we're in big trouble.
I usually send postcards.
Postcards. Oh, fun. Good.
I guess in line with blogging, Snapchat and Instagram, if you send them something on the spot.
We make fun of social media, but in some ways, we're always connected, right? And if you use it correctly, it's a way for you to be a part of their life from afar. Good.
When I take my flex time, if I work in the evening, instead of taking my flex time in the morning or a long lunch break, I do it after they've gotten off school. So I've got like an hour with them, and then I have to go.
Excellent. And that's I'm getting better at that. I'm going in earlier to like 6 so that I can come home at 3 or 4 so I can be with them for the maximum amount of time. And that's hard, but I'm getting much more out of the effort, right? Anything else? Okay, we'll come back to it. Finally, the last area, the personal. I don't know what to call this area. It's really kind of everything else. Nigel, in his thing, he calls it like the intellectual, emotional, the spiritual. For me, it's kind of like, what do you do to recharge? How do you find meaning in your life? How do you find joy? And this is a part that I think we neglect quite a bit. Sometimes we just focus on the work and the family and we forget that other aspect of our life. What do you do to find meaning in your life? A lot of people, they go camping or they go fishing or they have a hobby or they do service. Whatever it is you do, you need to give time for that because this is one of the ways that you rejuvenate is by taking time for yourself. I mentioned before that I was a dorky missionary with a great part. You can't see it here. I hid it. And honestly, those 2 years were the best 2 years of my life. And the reason why is because I spent 2 years helping other people, not doing stuff for myself. I didn't have to worry about school. I didn't have to worry about anything else. I just went and I served. And it was such a meaningful experience to me. And I've tried since then to be involved in my church and take opportunities to serve in the same way because I find such joy in that. I strongly believe this is true, that if something scares you, you should probably do it. You shouldn't go through life and take the easy road. You should do the hard things because they're going to help you grow. They're going to help you change. About 4 years ago, our leader of our congregation came to me and says, to my wife, hey, we need to talk to you. So we went in and we had a meeting and they extended we call it a calling, to be the bishop of our local ward. So the bishop, just so you know what it is, a bishop's kind of like the pastor or the leader of a local congregation. In our church, we don't have paid pastors or anything like that. It's all volunteer. So we're all not experts. And we're asked to do these things for a certain period of time and to help each other out. And, for being a bishop, it's a pastor, kind of a leader to 400 to 500 people in your local area. It's a geographical area. It requires 20 to 40 hours a week, some weeks more, some weeks less. And you're an administrator, counselor, teacher, leader, accountant, staffer. I'm a bad accountant, by the way. I do funerals. I bury people. And I also marry people, which is really weird. And it's been an interesting opportunity. My wife and I had to sit down and say, is this something that we can actually do? Because I was already working 60 plus hours a week. I was already stretched too thin. But together we decided, this is an opportunity to help other people. We have to take that opportunity, even if it means changing how we approach our life. So we said yes, and it's, just so you know, it's usually for a 5 to 6 year period, and I'm 4 years in. So I've learned a lot. I'm kind of approaching the end, and I'm already like, oh my gosh, it's almost over. Here's what I've learned. I've learned that I need to give up certain responsibilities. I have that perfectionism complex too. I know that I can do a better job than that person, right? Guess what? I don't have time. I have 20 to 30 people in the unit that help me. They have different responsibilities, working with youth, working with other things, teaching Sunday school. I have to let go and let them do their job and help them be successful so that we're all better together. Because I just can't, I don't have the time. I can't do it. That's the same thing with delegate or die. I've given a lot of responsibility to other people, whether it's coworkers, whether it's students, or whether it's other people in my congregation or in my family. I've had to give up some things. I've had to prioritize. I've had to really focus on what's important, both for my family and for my ward. And finally, I had to draw some lines in the sand. After 6 o'clock on Sunday, I'm done. I have to be with the family. It's Monday night, same thing. I'm done. I have a line in the sand. You cannot cross that. But then on Sunday before 6, I'm with the ward. That's when I do most of my work, is trying to, all day Sunday. And it's been something that's been really helpful for me. Not only that, it's taught me some other skills. I've learned that I have skills I didn't know I had. I really have enjoyed counseling people with financial stuff, like sitting down with them, helping them figure out how to pay off their credit cards, get out of debt. Those things, I really enjoyed that. I would have never known that if I hadn't taken the opportunity to serve, right? And my wife and I, when we're done, when we're retired, we're going to go on a mission and hopefully do that. I think that would be really a lot of fun. I think it also brings perspective. Whenever you serve, you get some perspective. And when I say that is let's say you go and miss that double play at the baseball game, right? And you're like, oh crap, I missed that double play. When I go home at night, then I go counsel the widow who lost her husband a few weeks before, guess what? That double play ain't important. It gives me really a good perspective. Interacting with other people in that way, in a meaningful level, helps me understand what's important and what's not important in my life. What it all does come down to, I think service is really something that's great. I know a lot of you serve and find a lot of joy in your service because it does give you that perspective, I feel like sometimes we go through our lives like this, just seeing only the problems and the issues that are right in front of us. When you go and help somebody else with their problems, it kind of clears that away. And it helps you be a human. So again, to sum up everything, this is kind of the bottom line for me. You don't find balance, you create it. You force it, you make it happen. And if you're unhappy, do something about it. Don't just wallow in misery. Do something. Selfish people are also miserable. Serve, help other people. Be more than just a photographer. And finally, you do have all the power. You are the ones that are in control of your life. Never give up that control, because nobody will give you the life that you want.
But an incident that happened a couple of years ago gave me a new perspective. My wife, who is somewhere in the audience today, called me up at the office and said, Nigel, you need to pick our younger son up, Harry, from school. She had to be somewhere else with the other 3 children for that evening. So I left work an hour early that afternoon and picked Harry up at the school gates. We walked down to the local park, messed around on the swings, played some silly games. I then walked him up the hill to the local cafe and we shared a pizza for tea. Then walked down the hill to our home and I gave him his bath and put him in his Batman pyjamas. I then read him a chapter of Roald Dahl's James and the Giant Peach. I then put him to bed, tucked him in, gave him a kiss on his forehead and said, "Good night, mate," and walked out of his bedroom. As I was walking out of his bedroom, he said, "Dad," I went, "Yes, mate." He went, "Dad, this has been the best day of my life, ever." I hadn't done anything. Hadn't taken him to Disney World or bought him a PlayStation. Now, my point is, the small things matter. Being more balanced doesn't mean dramatic upheaval in your life. With the smallest investment in the right places, you can radically transform the quality of your relationships and the quality of your life.
I really love that, because I believe it's true. Sometimes I feel like we just have despair because we don't think we can change. We don't think we can make these huge monumental changes in our life, and they don't need to be. They need to be small. Quality time in the right places has a large result. And I just kind of think it's like this. I don't want this to be my tombstone. The thing about it is that I don't get to choose what I write on my tombstone then, when I die. You choose it every day, starting now. And I don't want to be the person that was known as a photographer. I'd rather be the husband. I'd rather be the father. I'd rather be the grandfather. But I need to make some changes now so that they'll want me to be a part of that life. So, after having talked about this, how do you feel right now?
I gotta go home.
Yeah, it's all right. Symposium's over. No. How do you feel? I see a lot of mixed reactions. That's good. Let me just share this. Nobody's going to remember you for your pictures. They don't matter. In the long run, your family matters. A photographer is a job, but it's not who you are. engage and have meaningful relationships and do meaningful things in your life and be happy. And make photography just a part of that. Thank you.